We're going to start off talking about Rodrigo Bentancur because his ban has been made official by the FA, as the statement says that an independent regulatory commission has imposed a 7-match suspension and a £100,000 fine on Rodrigo Bentancur for a breach of FA Rule E3 in relation to a media interview. It was alleged that the Tottenham Hotspur midfielder breached FA Rule E3.1 as he acted in an improper manner and or used abusive and or insulting words and or brought the game into disrepute. It was further alleged that this constitutes as aggregated breach, which is defined in FA Rule E3.2 as it included a reference, whether express or implied, to nationality and or race and or ethnic origin. Bentancur denied this charge, but the Independent Regulatory Commission found it to be proven and imposed his sanction following a hearing. Its written reasons for these decisions can be seen below, which I'm not going to go into. But yeah, 7-game ban, which will only be implemented in domestic games, which he'll be able to play European games, Roma and Rangers in that space of time. But he is missing a hell of a lot of important games for Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, which is a shame for him and a shame for us, but unfortunately, that's the consequence for what he said. It's interesting to know what his defence was for denying the charge, because obviously he didn't accept it. That's probably maybe why he got that extra game, because he didn't accept the charge. The defence for what Bentancur said was, which wasn't reported by the media when going through Bentancur's quotes from that now infamous interview out in Uruguay. He said that the interviewer called Sonny the Korean. He said, "Can I get a shirt for the Korean?" And then Bentancur said, "Who's Sonny?" And then he said, "Or did you mean what's it called?" Or could it be any of his cousins because they all look the same or something like that. Now, Bentancur's defence was that he was being sarcastic when he said that line, because he was gently kind of challenging the interviewer for calling Sonny the Korean, claiming that, he shouldn't have referred to Sonny that way. So he was kind of gently challenging him, saying, "Oh, do they all look the same? That's why you called him the Korean." That was his defence. It was a sarcastic comment rather than a joke, which he did refer to it as a joke when he did apologise, but he said that was poorly phrased, and he actually should have said that that was a sarcastic comment rather than a joke directed towards the journalist. He also said that as the interview was filmed at his home, there was a reasonable expectation of privacy. Despite the fact it was filmed, he thought that the journalist would have more sense but to post that bit of the interview essentially on his social medias. Clearly the interviewer didn't have that much sense and posted it on his Instagram and his YouTube channel, that part of the interview. So that was Bentancur's defense for his comments.
Yeah, look, regardless, stupid comments to make. I still think a 7-game ban is a bit hefty. But having said that, you reap what you sow, don't you? Either way, he shouldn't be saying stuff like that in an interview. And he's got the ban, and it's going to hurt us. It's going to hurt us massively. He's going to be missing the Man City game at the weekend, Fulham at home, Bournemouth away, Chelsea at home, Southampton away, Manchester United at home in the Cup, and Liverpool at home in the league. And he'll be back for the Nottingham Forest game on Boxing Day. Which is like, what big games he's missing, man.
He can, as you say, he can play in Europe. In terms of how many midweek Premier League games do we have in that time? Because that's the real key. Because week to week it should be okay, but when it gets to midweek games,
Bournemouth and Manchester United. Okay. Manchester United is not Premier League, but it's cup game, big cup game.
That's big cup game. Bournemouth. So Basuma and Gray are going to fill that role. Maybe even we even saw Sarr in that role against I think it was Arsenal. He came on and played that role for a bit. So we're going to have to use those players. It's going to hurt us because Bentancur's been in great form, and Gray's not been playing that role too much, and Sarr as well. It's going to be new for him, but that's just reality. He's got a 7-game ban. We're going to have to cope with it.
Now we're going to get into this article from the Footy Insider. They claim that Ange Postecoglou has fallen out with at least 4 of the Tottenham senior stars. The Spurs boss is at the centre of a bust-up with the first 11 regulars believed to include the Italian contingent in the Spurs squad, Destiny Udogie and Vicario, as well as ex-Serie A stars Rodrigo Bentancur and Cuti Romero. Are believed to be among those who have been upset by Ange Postecoglou. Sources also claim to say that his straight talking in public and behind the scenes has had a negative reaction in the dressing room and has sown the discord at the heart of the team's wild swings in form. What do you make out of that?
I think it's just bunch of nonsense, to be honest. Am I meant to believe that Vicario, who shouts at everyone on the pitch, he definitely doesn't have he doesn't mind sharing his opinion, doesn't he? He doesn't mind being straight talking the back four. Cuti Romero, who is very much someone who I think would probably appreciate honesty. I think he's someone who's a tough cookie. Who's the other ones? Bentancur and the doggy.
Yeah.
I mean, am I supposed to be these guys don't like Ange's straight talking nature? That's why they've fallen out with him. I don't believe that for a second. Look, I don't doubt that maybe there's been some arguments, maybe even I don't know if there's been falling outs, but maybe there's been something happening in the dressing room. We've heard rumours about it, but for that being the reason, I don't buy for 1 second.
Well, first of all, I definitely believe there has been something happening in the background of Tottenham Hotspur. I do believe that all is not right in the background.
But when you're losing 5 games, why would it be? You can't,
100%.
Be a happy camp.
100%. There should be something wrong in the background when you're losing at home to Ipswich, and there should have been a big fallout after that game. No professional should be happy, especially when you're trying to achieve what Tottenham achieved, to go and lose at home to Ipswich and for these up and down swings. 100%. I don't know if they're in this article they're saying that because of Ange Postecoglou's straight talking, that's been the reason for the fallout. I think they're just saying that.
That's what it said. Sources say.
Yeah, but they haven't seen that's been the reason for the fallout.
Well, that's what it said.
It says sources say his straight talking in public and behind the scenes had a negative reaction in the dressing room. It hasn't said that's been the reason for the fallout.
And that's what's sown the discord, and also what caused the up and down nature of the results. That's what it's saying.
But no, it's not saying that that's why these 4 players have fallen out with Ange Postecoglou, though. It's saying that that they don't like it, but it doesn't mean that's because of the fallout. It doesn't mean that's.
So they're not giving a reason for the fallout. That's even worse.
Yeah.
So it's even more rubbish then.
Yeah, regardless. But I do think whatever they're saying, I think they're going on rumours that are circulating around social media. That's probably what they're going on. I don't think they have any sort of information what's going on in the background of Tottenham Hotspur. But the reality is, I believe that there has been some sort of fallout, and I believe that there are stuff going on in the background scenes. You're looking at Cuti Romero. I think that his performances haven't been at the level, and what's the reason for that? I'm not saying it's because of a fallout, but I think there could be something there. We've heard about stuff happening with James Maddison as well. He's not even mentioned in this article, but James Maddison and the what we know of his kind of attitude to be like. I think his attitude is top notch, but what would he be like once he starts falling down the pecking order? I think people have always kind of asked that question, and we've heard about a falling out between James Maddison and Ange Postecoglou. I do think things are happening behind the scenes, and I do think there's a little bit of a falling out. Whether they get this firsthand, whether they have any sort of inside information, I really highly doubt. I really do highly doubt. So I think this article is nonsense, just brought up by social media rumours, but I do think there's something happening.
Potentially, but look, when I look at, like, for example, not just when I say I look at the stats, I'm not talking about chances and all that stuff. I'm talking about running stats. I'm talking about in the pressing intensity that we have. Right, we have the highest pressing intensity in the league. We run the most in the league. If the players didn't believe in the manager, would he be getting them to run the most in the league out of everyone? They're clearly still buying into it, in my opinion. When I see that, when I remember when we saw. Some of the other, I think it's very, very much the case with a lot of players. When you look at their running stats, a lot of the times when managers are struggling to get their message across and they stop believing in it, the running stats really go down. I think we've seen it with a lot of managers. We've even seen it with Pochettino near the end of his tenure. We saw it with Conte. I think we were near the bottom of the league for like running stats and stuff like that. When I look at us at the moment, we're right at the top, not even second, third. We're like first. I don't think you can get your team to be first in the league to put all in that effort if they weren't buying into it. Doesn't mean there hasn't been a falling out just because of that, but that also tells me that they're still giving their all to try and do what Ange tells them.
All these managers.
Can we just say, by the way, we haven't heard anything reliable. That's the case. We're going off social media rumours and bloody Footy Insider. When we're talking about what you're saying, usually there's quite reliable sources stating these things. So to say this is now the start of something when we haven't heard anything reliable saying
That's also true.
Saying that there's been discord, I think is not fair on Ange.
Yeah, that's also a fair point. So I guess we got to wait and see what happens over the next coming months.